We couldn't think of a better person to join us on our first show of 2021 than Senator Tim Scott. A major make it or break it runoff race happens tomorrow in Georgia. A new president is poised to be sworn in later this month, and we're still dealing with the pandemic. First of all, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. My nephew's birthday is today, so little Ben, congratulations to your 30th year, big 3-0 for him, and it's going to be a great year for all of us. 2021 is going to be a year to remember in a way that 2020 is a year to forget.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, happy birthday to him. And what a wild ride 2020 brought us.
Wow.
I want to start with the Georgia race, though, because you've been very active in your support for Senators Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. What are your thoughts? Should they win the election tomorrow? And if they don't?
Well, it is a difference of two very different Americas. If there is a firewall, not for the Republican Party, because this race is not about partisan politics, it's really about the future of America. And the firewall that we need for the American people, it will be steadfast if we elect both Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. That firewall will protect us from about a $4 trillion, T as in Tom, $4 trillion tax increase. It will protect us from seeing what they call stacking the Supreme Court. Stacking the courts is really about 9 Supreme Court justices is not enough, even though since for 150 years, it's been enough. Yeah. What some of the liberals want to do is add enough seats to the Supreme Court to change the conservative balance on the Supreme Court. So if that takes 11 seats or 13 seats or 15 seats or 17 seats, it is un-American for us to really to mess with our judiciary at the highest level. But even beyond that, we would see the Green New Deal, a multi-trillion-dollar new proposal with only 20% of it having anything to do with the environment, 80% to do with things like a universal basic income, really ushering in socialism. President Trump fought tooth and nail against socialism. President Trump brought us the fastest vaccine in the history of the world. We need to continue to march down the right path as it relates to policies and to look at the most inclusive economy ever created in the last 4 years. I hope we spend a lot of time doing that in the next 4 years. That will require a big win in Georgia tomorrow. Without that, the differences between the two Americas could not be more stark.
Well, I know that Ambassador Nikki Haley recently said that we're really headed down this socialist path, and that even though it has failed everywhere it has ever been tried, that's where some of our leaders, lawmakers, want to take us. Is that a real threat?
I think it is, unfortunately, Leyla. When you look at the candidates that are running on the left, whether it's Mr. Warnock or Mr. Ossoff, the one thing they both have in common is they have been flirting with socialism and or doing business with the Chinese. This is not your run-of-the-mill grandparents' Democrat Party that we're seeing in Georgia. This is a brand spanking new leap towards socialism in a way that it is hard to digest. When someone says in the pulpit, you cannot love God and be in the military, that's something that is antithetical to what it means to be an American. When the other candidate's doing business with the Chinese, that is antithetical to what it means to be an American, and not just simply doing trade business with the Chinese, but having relationships and dealings. It's a hard pill to swallow that there are individuals who are so far left that they're out of the mainstream, even on the left. These are not candidates like Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan after they fought tooth and nail every day, all day long, they'd go and have a cup of coffee together or have a meal. This is a very different party as it relates to those two candidates with very different objectives. Socialism is something they bring with them into the Senate. It's one of the reasons why we have to stop it.
Does it surprise you that there are voters out there that would vote for someone such as Warnock, who invited Fidel Castro to his church? I mean, are you seeing that this is an actual representation, or are we looking at voter fraud again? I mean, there's election fraud in every election, but perceivably more so in this latest election. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's no doubt that Mr. Warnock's approach with inviting Castro, his comments about the police, his comments about God in the military, that is far, far extreme to the left. When I think about what this looks like, the fact of the matter is, because of President Trump's vigilance, the voters' signature verification process is very different tomorrow than it was in the general election. One of the things that Georgia has done better for this upcoming runoff is focus their attention on those mail-in ballots to make sure that the signature verification and the matches are done on every single ballot. That is something that was contested, i.e. that it was not done in the general election. So I'm happy to see that because of the many lawsuits that we saw from President Trump, we're now seeing more integrity in the election process. And that is good for every single American from sea to shining sea. But most importantly, tomorrow, it's good for every Georgian.
Absolutely. This is a perfect place to take a break. When we come back, I want to address the pandemic. So we're going to do that in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. We've been chatting with Senator Tim Scott. We've addressed the election that's taking place tomorrow in Georgia, the runoff election. I want to switch gears to the pandemic. You received your vaccine, your COVID-19 vaccine, just before Christmas. How are you feeling?
Feeling great. Really, literally no side effects whatsoever. Thanks be to God, and thank President Trump for ushering in the vaccine at a record-breaking pace.
Absolutely. Now we're hearing about this new strain coming to Colorado from Europe. Do you anticipate that this year is going to be more of the same, or do you think that now that we have the vaccine that we're better protected?
We're certainly better protected, and frankly, one of the things that's not as popular as it should be is to recognize the fact that we have lost hundreds of thousands of Americans without any question. That is a point to pause and to pray and to be thankful for all of the work that's been done. But about 99%, 99.8% of Americans came into this year with their lives intact. 99.9%, frankly, of Americans came into this year with their lives intact. So there's a lot of good news that we could celebrate even around COVID-19, the response from the federal government, the response from the state government, but more importantly, the response from everyday people doing what was necessary to stop the spread of the virus, to slow the spread of the virus, and then community organizations, churches, and nonprofits working with folks. That's what America looks like when we're at our best. We're not waiting on the government to show up. We're doing our part every single day, and that has been significant in the just really diffusing this virus in a way that is measurable in the lives saved, because America, and most importantly, Americans, stood up to be counted and did the right thing.
And you've been at the forefront of expanding telehealth here in South Carolina. So are we looking at better coverage overall, and are we going to continue to see that? Is that going to be a goal for you in 2021?
It's one of my more important priorities as we look at the focus staying on healthcare and then moving into the economy. In order for us to have the highest quality of healthcare throughout rural South Carolina and parts of Charleston and the Lowcountry, we have to have telemedicine as a part of the future. It cannot be something simply for the pandemic. This is a new day and a new opportunity for us to continue to use telemedicine and telehealth as a way for us to reach rural South Carolinians with the best experts anywhere in the country. They can beam into your house, so to speak.
And you just said a very important word, opportunity. That transitions into my next question about opportunity zones. So the economy certainly took a real big hit in 2020. People are hopeful that 2021 is going to look better, but with businesses still shut down across the country, what are we doing in terms of opportunity zones and here at home in South Carolina to ensure that we have a robust economy moving forward?
Well, the exciting news is that we keep hearing more good news around developments for opportunity zones, using opportunity zones as the anchor. A classic example is Hampton County, where we saw 1,500 new jobs created in a poor rural part of South Carolina using opportunity zones. 500 seasonal jobs on top of the 1,500. In Rock Hill, South Carolina, the mayor of the city says they're bringing affordable housing downtown Rock Hill for the first time in 4 decades because of opportunity zones. In the Lowcountry, the Charleston Tech Center, which is right there in the neck area going towards downtown, $60 million construction project in an opportunity zone, already creating and attracting tech jobs from outside of the state. Now the goal is to grow some of those tech jobs organically. What a great problem to have, using opportunity zones to attract more job creators, more investors into the Lowcountry.
And do you think this is going against the grain of a lot of other states in the country that are still locking down and not allowing businesses to open?
What we're doing in South Carolina, allowing businesses to continue to flourish, allowing restaurants to open. They said last year about 1.5% of some of the spread of the virus were connected to restaurants. 1.5%, more than 50% home parties, things that were not in the public domain, which is really important for us to recognize the importance of restarting and reigniting our economy at home in South Carolina, but around the country. It is really important for us to make sure that we do whatever it takes to keep this economy growing so that people have jobs. Economic insecurity is going to cost us a lot if we're not careful. Good news is people, at least in South Carolina, are coming back to work in high numbers.
I just have one more question for you. We're going to do that after the commercial, so don't go anywhere. And finally, I wanted to ask you, Senator Tim Scott, with Joe Biden, President-elect Joe Biden, being sworn later in this month, under a very large cloud of controversy from election fraud to his son, Hunter Biden's perceived dealings with China. Yes. Do you foresee there being a special counsel, and will Republicans continue to push for answers once he is elected and once he is, sworn into office?
Well, we're going to continue to hold everyone accountable, including Hunter Biden, for their dealings with the Chinese. There's no doubt that it appears, I'm still holding on to a little bit of hope that there might be new revelations coming forward, but ultimately it appears that we'll have a new president sworn in on January the 20th. I think there's a cloud over this entire election. How we deal with that cloud will be very important. I think our responsibility from an oversight perspective as senators is going to be key as we move into this next year. We want every single American to have confidence in this process, confidence in the voting process. Elections are really state functions, but we're going to make sure that we keep our eyes on the prize of having integrity in the elections. One of the votes that we had just about 7 or 8 days ago had to do with election fraud and bringing more integrity into the election, more resources heading in that direction. We'll continue to do so. And as the lawsuits continue to play out for the next couple of weeks, I hope President Trump continues to avail himself to every legal effort possible to bring light to any fraud or abuse that is part of the process. And we have to understand that election security is national security. So it's really important for us to focus on how we proceed as Americans, making sure that there is transparency and integrity in that process.
With just 10 seconds left, I know you're a man of faith. Any words of wisdom that you want to impart on our viewers for a hopeful 2021?
Well, I'm actually excited about the new year. I would simply say Ephesians 3:20, all things are possible. That's Philippians 4:13. But we should expect that the good Lord and hard work will do exceedingly abundantly above all that we even ask or imagine. God bless.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Senator Tim Scott. Thank you for all your hard work. I know it's been a busy year for you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
We're back in 2 minutes.